Park2Park podcast, where we compare theme park offerings from coast to coast. We don't always see eye to eye, but in the end, we try. I'm your host, Alli. As always, I'm joined by my sister, CJ. She's also my co-host, but she's my sister first. How are you, CJ?
I am doing well. How are you, Alli?
I am doing great, and you know what? Happy 4th of July, because that's the day that this episode releases.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. It's a great day to be a patriot.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
I don't know why the yeehaw came out. Actually, I do know why the yeehaw came out, because it's appropriate for this episode where we're looking at a new frontier. We are going back in time to the Wild West. We're going to talk about the rivers of America, their respective islands, and the Frontierland Shootin Gallery. I can think of nothing more patriotic than that.
Well, let's put some yee in this haw.
Get this road on the show. So, river transportation. You have several options at Disneyland. There is the Mark Twain riverboat, the sailing ship Columbia, Davy Crockett's Explorer canoes, and the unofficial river transportation of the log rafts that take you from New Orleans Square to Tom Sawyer Island. Or, I'm sorry, Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah, and at Magic Kingdom, we have Liberty Square Riverboat, and we have the rafts to Tom Sawyer Island, which again, the rafts are not officially listed as an attraction. It's Tom Sawyer Island that's an attraction.
Yeah, the park websites just refer to these as take a raft to the island or take a log raft to the island. So they're not listed as their own attraction. But we're going to talk a little bit about them anyways.
Yeah, it's one of those weird Disney things where the rafts are a ride, but they're not listed as anything. The island itself is the attraction.
Is it kind of like the tram? It's not really a ride, but it's helping you get to the attraction?
I guess so.
All right, CJ, so let's start with Disneyland. What is your favorite thing about the river transportation options at Disneyland?
Well, I feel like at Disneyland, there's two different things that I like about river transportation at Disneyland. First of all, I like the canoes. I know the canoes. I feel like the canoes, you either love them or you hate them, and I really love them. Your feet and your legs are doing a lot of walking, and your hands get a workout on Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. But, your shoulder and your back and your arms need a good workout too, and you can go get that workout at the canoes, and I appreciate that. And I feel like between the different forms of river transportation, you get a lot of different experiences. At river level, you get an interesting view of things. On the Mark Twain, you can go up top and get a different view of things. So I just really like that you get different experiences depending on the different form of transportation that you take.
Yeah, same thing for me. Is I like that there's a lot of choices at Disneyland. If you don't want to propel yourself through the river, you can hop on a boat. There's 2 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And what about Magic Kingdom, CJ?
Well, the Liberty Bell Riverboat is a very long, I called it the Liberty Bell. The name of the Liberty Square Riverboat is called the Liberty Bell. So the Liberty Bell attraction is a really long ride. It's a really nice place to go escape the crowds. And I just like that it's like a nice, relaxing journey.
And my favorite thing, with the caveat that I haven't been on it, I watched a very sped up YouTube ride through. This does also apply to Disneyland, but I like being able to see things that you wouldn't normally get to see. You get really unique views when you're taking the riverboat versus just, walking in the park.
Yeah, and I feel like for both parks, these attractions are somewhat overlooked. I think people get lost in the gotta go to Space Mountain, gotta go to Splash Mountain, gotta go on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. They skip some of these littler attractions that are off the beaten path, and they miss some of the little details in the park.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, because we're talking about a lot of attractions. We have a lot of opening dates. The Mark Twain at Disneyland opened on July 17th, 1955. The sailing ship Columbia, June 14th, 1958. The canoes, July 4th, 1956. Happy birthday, canoes. And the rafts opened when Tom Sawyer Island opened on June 16th, 1956.
Wow, those are really old classic attractions.
Yeah, all from the 50s.
Cool. So in Magic Kingdom, the Liberty Bell, that particular boat opened in 1973. It had a different name originally, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So it was renamed as the Liberty Bell in 1996, and the rafts opened on May 20th, 1973.
Now it's time for the fun facts.
Fun facts, woo!
So starting with the Mark Twain, it has 3 levels. It weighs 150 tons, 28 feet high, and 105 feet long. And it was the first functional paddle wheeler built in the United States in 50 years. Its maiden voyage was on July 13th, 1955, so before the park opened, and it hosted the anniversary party for Walt and Lily and Disney. This is an unverified fun fact, but the pilot doesn't actually drive. Actually, it's not an unverified fun fact. This boat is on a track. The pilot does not actually drive. The pilot's job is to look out for other river traffic, such as canoes and ducks and rafts. And the pilot's job is to tell the boiler engineer when the boat needs to slow down or stop for the other traffic.
Yes.
On opening day, the Mark Twain almost tipped over because everybody went to one side of the boat to look at something.
Oh no.
A few days later, it was filled with people, so many people, that the deck was at the same level as the water. They had not established what the operating capacity would be, so it almost sank because there were too many people on board. And shortly after that incident, the capacity was set at 300, and it has stayed at 300 to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. Early days at Mark Twain was actually a thrill ride.
Nice.
The sailing ship Columbia is 110 feet long, and it only runs on busy days, so it's not always running. Most of the time it is docked. There is a main deck. There is also a nautical museum below deck that shows what life was like for a crew in 1787.
It gets really hot down there. If you happen to go on the Columbia and go check it out, it's like really stuffy down there in the below deck. It's definitely worth checking out. It's a really cool piece of Disneyland, but be warned, it is warm. It is toasty down there.
I think you mean is historically accurate.
Yes.
There was not air conditioning in 1787.
True.
The Columbia was based on a ship called the Columbia Rediviva, and I may have pronounced that wrong. Apologies. But this ship was the first American sailing ship to go around the globe. But there's only one picture of it in existence. So the Imagineers referenced this image and historical documents in the Library of Congress when they were constructing the boat. Walt Disney personally placed a silver dollar coin under each mast before the masts were installed. And here is our not fun fact. In 1998, 3 people were struck by a cleat used to secure the ship to the dock. And one of these people was unfortunately killed by the injury he sustained from this accident. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate. And you hate to hear about things like this happening.
Yeah. Well, I have a Walt Disney World fun fact relating to the Columbia.
Okay, tell us.
So, there's a restaurant called Columbia Harbor House.
Yes, I ate there. It was delicious.
Oh, that's good to hear. Did you know that there is a painting of the sailing ship Columbia located outside that restaurant?
I did not.
Yeah, it's kind of above. Whoa, do you hear that?
Wow. CJ's getting a thunderstorm.
Yeah, there's a big flash lightning and thunder. That was so cool. Anyways, there's a painting of the sailing ship Columbia that's a replica of Disneyland's Columbia sailing ship outside the restaurant, kind of above the entrance and to the left.
Okay, very cool.
And when you're talking about there's only one picture of that ship in existence, I wonder if that's the ship, like the picture of the ship that the Imagineers referenced.
I would not expect it to be the original image of the ship.
No. I know it's not the original, but I wonder if that's a replica of the original picture that they referenced when they built the Columbia.
It could be. We need to find an Imagineer and ask them.
That would be really cool.
Last set of fun facts for Disneyland are about the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes. This is the only Disneyland attraction that is powered by park guests. It is not on a track. The speed of it depends on how many bodybuilders are in your canoe. You can fit up to 20 people per canoe plus 2 guides, and when the ride originally opened, there were American Indians used as the guides. This was due to the theming and the location of the attraction. It was originally in Frontierland Indian Village. And it was also originally called Indian War Canoes. Another questionable choice by Disney. The canoes are actually only open during peak hours and peak attendance. So summer, weekends, and busy weekdays. And now this is the really tricky fun fact. The canoes are one of 2 Disneyland attractions to have been in 3 different lands without ever having moved. So those lands are Frontierland, Bear Country, and Critter Country. Now, Bear Country was renamed to Critter Country. The boundaries have shifted of those lands over time. That said, I pulled up this fact and I went, oh, wow, that's really cool. I wonder what the other attraction that meets this criteria is. And we have no idea. CJ and I both did some research. I called Mom and had her do some research. We couldn't come up with anything. So if you know, please tell us.
Yeah, you read this on a website. I don't know what website it is. And
Wikipedia.
see, I don't know that I really trust Wikipedia, to be honest. I'm like racking my brain to figure out what the heck it could possibly be. I don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea. So if you or someone you love knows the answer to this question, yeah, let us know. We'll drop our contact information at the end of this podcast as per usual, so you have to listen to the whole thing to get it if you don't already know it. Ha ha!
I think it's really interesting they used to have Native Americans as guides on the canoes. I think that would be a really interesting job. Also, yeah, if you want to do this ride, like you have to time it really right. Good luck getting on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you're a cast member, there's canoe races that you can sign up for that take place before the park opens. You can form a team and participate in the cast member canoe races.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Did you participate when you were a cast member?
I did not, and that's something that I regret and I should have participated in. But I'm pretty sure like the team that's formed by the cast members who work on the canoes is the team that always wins. So I've heard.
I wonder why.
I cannot verify this. Yeah, the people who work on the canoes are like super buff, so I don't know that anybody can beat them. Anyways, okay, Magic Kingdom fun facts. You ready?
Yes.
So, I was always under the impression that the riverboat in the Rivers of America was an opening day attraction, and it was. However, the riverboat that is there today was not the riverboat that was there on opening day. So, here's the story of that. So, there was a riverboat named the Admiral Joe Fowler. And that did open on opening day, and it's named after a U.S. Navy Rear Admiral who helped build both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. In late 1980, they were going to lift it into the dry dock for some maintenance. However, it was accidentally dropped from a crane, and it was broken beyond repair, so just destroyed. Unfortunately, they couldn't repair it, so it was picked apart for scrap. And at that point, it was determined that Magic Kingdom didn't need 2 riverboats. So the boat that was there today opened in 1973, I believe. Let me double check. Yep, 1973. Yes. So, yeah, the Joe Fowler was picked apart for scrap, and the steam engine machinery from the Joe Fowler, the one that did open on opening day, was sent to Tokyo Disneyland to be used as part of their Mark Twain riverboat. So,
rest in peace, the Admiral Joe Fowler boat.
Yes, the name of the Admiral Joe Fowler is used on one of the ferry boats that goes from the Ticket and Transportation Center to Magic Kingdom.
His legacy lives on.
Yep. So the boat that's in use today, which is now called the Liberty Bell, was originally named the Richard F. Irvine Riverboat. He was one of the first executives of WED Enterprises, which is now Walt Disney Imagineering. Yeah, and now that name, Richard F. Irvine, is one of the names of the ferry boats as well out in Bay Lake.
Their legacy lives on.
Their legacy also lives on. Yeah. So they've just renamed some of the boats around Walt Disney World. And that boat was renamed to the Liberty Bell in 1996 after an extensive refurbishment. And that's how the Liberty Bell got its name.
So there were originally 2 riverboats at Magic Kingdom?
Well, originally there was just the one, the Admiral Joe Fowler. And then in 1973, the second one came around.
Okay. And then the original one was broken in 1980. Okay.
And that's when they went back down to just one.
Okay, so 1 riverboat from opening to 1973, 2 riverboats from 73 to 80, and then 1 again from 80 to present. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
I just want to make sure I have the timeline right there.
I know, it's very confusing. Yes. Yes. So the Liberty Bell is 47 feet tall, and it features an actual steam engine, which converts water from the river into steam, which powers the paddle in the back, which propels the boat, and it makes a very loud sound when the whistle goes off. My son gets scared of it, and he looks at the steam that's rising, going, "Oh, what is that?" Anyways, so moving on to the rafts. The rafts are named after characters from the Mark Twain books. It's very Mark Twain connected. We don't have the Pirate's Lair thing that's going on over in Disneyland. And the rafts are powered using natural gas motors. Magic Kingdom did used to have canoes. The Davy Crockett Explorer canoes were an opening day attraction, which closed in 1993. We also used to have the Mike Fink keelboats, which was an opening day attraction at Magic Kingdom, but they closed in 2001. At Disneyland, they also used to have the Mike Fink keelboats, which opened Christmas Day in 1955, but they closed in 1994, reopened in March of 1996, and then closed permanently in May of 1997.
All right, moving on to where these are located. At Disneyland, the Mark Twain and the sailing ship Columbia both board from the same dock. They are in Frontierland near Big Thunder and the Golden Horseshoe. The canoes are in Critter Country near the Hungry Bear restaurant. And the rafts are in New Orleans Square close to Haunted Mansion.
Yep, in Magic Kingdom, the riverboat boards basically in the same area, just the land is Liberty Square near Haunted Mansion and the Liberty Tree Tavern. And the rafts are right near Big Thunder Mountain.
The queue, the waiting area for Mark Twain and the sailing ship Columbia, not the sailing ship. The waiting area resembles a real riverboat loading area with cargo deliveries sharing space on the dock. You can see historic United States flags displayed at the attraction's entrance. See, it's thematically appropriate for the 4th of July episode.
It is.
The canoes have your standard switchbacks that take you downhill to the river's edge, and the rafts have a small switchback queue at the river's edge / on the island. It's like really small. It's like probably the shortest queue, like square footage area in all of Disneyland. It's so small.
I would agree with that. At Magic Kingdom, the riverboat is kind of like a colonial themed boarding pen area. There's no queue. It's just like a people pen, and it's covered, which is nice. It's not, like I said, it's not a queue. It's just a pen. And the rafts are like a shaded hut with a couple of switchbacks. And it's on the water's edge right near Big Thunder. And then on the way back, it's also shaded unless they're using the extended area, and there's switchbacks over there as well.
The Mark Twain is designed after a Mississippi steamboat, and your round trip takes about 14 minutes. The sailing ship Columbia, I already mentioned, it's based on this historical ship from probably around 1787-ish, because that's when the museum is all about. I didn't actually look up when this, but now I am. Let's see here. The Columbia Rediviva, formerly known as Columbia, it was laid down in 1773 and 1787, decommissioned in 1806. So that's your era theming. And the round trip takes 15 minutes. Interesting that the Mark Twain is 1 minute faster. I pulled those times from the Disneyland website.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do with the boarding process or something.
It could be. I'm really not sure, to be honest. The canoes, again, the speed depends on how many athletes are in the boat and if they, how buff they are, or if they focus on leg day only. And I don't know how many total canoes there are. No idea. Nothing says. The rafts to Tom Sawyer's Island or Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer's Island, there's 2 of them. that are operating at any given time. I don't know if they have like ones that they trade out, but on any given day,
I would imagine they do.
Yeah, just in case, refurbishment, etc. But on any given day, there are 2 that are operating, controlled by a cast member, and they're made out of fake looking wood.
Yeah, it looks really fake.
Yeah, it's kind of got that like rubbery kind of aesthetic that all of the like fake signs have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the riverboat for Magic Kingdom, the website describes it as a colonial era riverboat. And I'm looking at it going, this looks more like antebellum era to me. I think they're going with the colonial era verbiage because it's in Liberty Square and they want to go with the colonial theme. Anyways, the Disney website also says there are 4 decks, but the top deck is just the pilot house, and I don't believe that's accessible to guests. So take that as it is.
4, but technically 3.
Yes. It travels a half mile at 17 minutes total. So it travels 1.76 miles per hour. Yes, I did do the math thanks to Google.
Good job.
For the rafts, there are 4 rafts. They don't operate all 4 at a given time. There's usually just 2. They are named the Huck Finn, the Tom Sawyer, Injun Joe, and Becky Thatcher. So they're going heavy on the Mark Twain theme there.
So the views on the route. I have copied and pasted this from the Disney website. On the Mark Twain and the sailing ship Columbia, you will go past the north bank of the Columbia Gorge, complete with a beautiful waterfront and 5 sparkling waterfalls. A rustic frontier cabin that no longer lights on fire. An idyllic Native American village. A busy beaver at work chewing on the train trestle. Mountain lions relaxing in the sun. And the Disneyland Railroad steaming into the wilderness.
You know what's interesting? For the riverboat at Magic Kingdom, they also say an idyllic Native American village.
The description for the canoes, it's almost the same, but you get a little bit more details. You'll glide past the north bank of the Columbia Gorge, complete with a beautiful waterfront and count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sparkling waterfalls. Take in the sights and sounds of 3 different lands: the backwoods of Frontierland, the wrought iron railings of New Orleans Square, and the peak of Chickapin Hill towering over Critter Country. Sharp-eyed explorers can spot iconic locales, including an idyllic Native American village and frontier wildlife like moose and beavers.
Wow, I like how they lean into sharp-eyed explorers, like they're playing up the story of you're on this sailing ship on an adventure.
That was for the canoes, actually.
Oh, the canoes. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought that was the Columbia. Okay.
It's, it still applies. It still leans into the story of, you're an explorer on this river. It's the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes.
Yes. Okay, I like that. That is cool. Okay. So for the Magic Kingdom riverboat, they say that you'll see an early American settlement, an idyllic Native American village, Harper's Mill, Fort Langhorne, Wilson's Cave Inn, woodland animals, Big Thunder, Splash, and Haunted Mansion. So they're referencing some of the things that you'll see on Tom Sawyer Island. So they're trying to direct you to Tom Sawyer Island. You'll also see views of Frontierland, and you can wave at the guests who are walking by, which is always a fun thing to do. And for the rafts, it's just a quick trip across the water. You get a quick view of Frontierland and Big Thunder before you dock at the island.
Now, we talked a little bit very briefly just then about the story behind the canoes. All 3 of them, the Mark Twain, the sailing ship Columbia, and the canoes, kind of have a living history feel to them. 2 of them, you're kind of explorers on a vessel, and then for the Mark Twain, it's like you're a tourist on a vessel is kind of the feeling there. But it all feels very historical. Mm-hmm. And then the rafts kind of just take you into a movie / a book, but also a movie because it's Pirates of the Caribbean rethemed. So it's a little bit confusing, and it's just kind of like your journey there. There's not really a story. It's just getting you there. Yeah,
it is very bizarre. Magic Kingdom, the story of the riverboat is you're just taking a nostalgic trip back to the past, and you're like a tourist on a riverboat. And then for the rafts, they're taking you to the island, and you're pretending to be a kid on the island, essentially.
Music and soundtracks. The Mark Twain will give you a lively narration about a time gone by. The sailing ship Columbia, you get nautical songs and sea shanties.
Mhm.
Highlights include Blow the Man Down.
Oh,
Everybody
yes.
knows that. Everybody knows that song,
Yes.
whether you know it or not.
And
You're
I know
welcome.
they usually set off the cannons.
Yeah.
And it's really loud. So if you're eating at Hungry Bear restaurant and you hear the cannons go off, like, warning, it's really loud. Okay, for the riverboat at Magic Kingdom, it's a recorded narrator who's taking on the identity of Mark Twain, sharing memories of his time on the Mississippi. So they're taking you back to Mark Twain's time, essentially. And the rafts, there's no music. You're just listening to nature sounds.
There are no height requirements for any of these attractions. The Mark Twain, the sailing ship Columbia, the raft, the canoes. There are no height requirements for the canoes, so you can take your infant child on the canoes. However, that said, children must wear life vests, and if you're an adult who's not comfortable swimming, there are adult life vests available. Hey, don't laugh. I'm an adult who's not comfortable swimming.
And hopefully you don't go swimming on this ride, because that is some nasty looking water.
Yes, there's like duck poo and French fries and
questionable things in that water. Yeah, the boats at Magic Kingdom also no height requirements. And it's a great ride for kids. Honestly, either one of those are great for kids. I would not take my kids on the canoes. Not for many years.
Yeah, gosh, no. I feel like you need to be at least like 8 years old to.
You need to be at least 3 times the size to go on the canoes.
No, you need to be at least 3 times your children's age to go on the canoes.
Yeah, I got to do some quick math there. Yes.
Yeah, fireworks, or in this case, Fantasmic for Disneyland. All of these attractions close early. When there is no Fantasmic, the Mark Twain's Last Voyage, however, starts 30 minutes before the park closes. The Columbia and the Mark Twain are actually both used in Fantasmic.
So the riverboat at Magic Kingdom closes early. Right now, it's summertime. I just checked, it's closing at 7 p.m. And, if there's an option to ride it at night, I remember during like winter, it was dark and I got to take a ride on it. It's really lovely at around sunset time. It's a really nice ride. And the island closes early too. So during summer, I just checked the hours. It was listed as closing at 6 o'clock. So that means, the rafts will start closing a little bit before that time.
In the rain, the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes and Tom Sawyer's Island are closed, but the sailing ship Columbia, provided it's an operational day for it, and the Mark Twain will be open.
At Magic Kingdom, the riverboat might close depending on how hard it's raining. The rafts and island both close.
And on either coast, there is no lightning lane for any of these attractions. It would kind of be silly.
Yeah, why would you do that?
All right, so we've got the facts laid out about your river transportation, which means it's time for the Showboat Showdown.
I like that, the Showboat Showdown. So I think maybe we should divide this into like riverboat and maybe all other boats.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Let's do a riverboat showdown.
The riverboat showdown. So, CJ, I'm gonna make you go first.
Okay, I'm gonna do like Mark Twain versus Liberty Bell because they're very similar.
That makes sense.
And I'm gonna give it to Liberty Bell at Magic Kingdom because it's a longer journey. I feel like, they shortened the island. For our listeners who don't know, they cut down Tom Sawyer Island and rerouted the rivers of America at Disneyland when they built Galaxy's Edge. And that cut down the length of the voyage of the Mark Twain. So now the ride around Rivers of America at Disneyland just feels a lot shorter than it used to. So I think at Liberty Bell, you get a more relaxing journey just because it's longer.
That is a fair point. The reason this is very hard for me is because I haven't been on the Mark Twain in at least 6 years, and I don't know that I've ever been on the Liberty Bell at Magic Kingdom. So I don't have a lot of personal experience to go off of here. I think CJ makes very valid points. So I will agree with her on this one. There is more to see at the Magic Kingdom. So I will have to give it to Magic Kingdom for that.
Okay. And our next one, we could do Sailing Ship Columbia /Canoes /Disneyland Rafts versus Magic Kingdom Rafts, which I feel like isn't a fair comparison.
It's really not a fair comparison. It skews heavily in Disneyland's favor just because there are so many more options.
Yes. So I feel like we shouldn't even do that at all, but I think we should offer our final thoughts on like boat transportation overall?
Overall, for me, it goes to Disneyland because, like I just said, there are so many more options. You know, you granted they're not all of them are running every day, but even so, if the Columbia is not running, you can still see it and go, "Oh, cool. There's a colonial ship there." And you know, it's still an attraction even though you can't ride it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. And you can go paddle a canoe. Some people might not have that opportunity where they're from to go paddle a canoe,
Yeah.
and you can have that opportunity at Disneyland. Or you can go explore a nautical museum on the sailing ship Columbia. That's really cool. One thing we didn't talk about is that at Disneyland on the Mark Twain, you can go ask to go in the pilot house and pilot the Mark Twain. I have not heard of that being an option on the riverboat at Magic Kingdom. But to even have that opportunity is pretty cool. So I just think that overall, Disneyland having a greater variety of experiences and making better use of their space, I mean, I gotta give it to them. They have a
Yeah.
smaller space to work with, and they make better use of the space that they do have.
Moving on, our next subject for this episode is Tom Sawyer Island and Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island. So, CJ, tell me your favorite thing about Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island.
I like that they use the space during the Phantasmic performances. I feel like they have to shut the island down when it's dark because of safety reasons. It's like dirt and there's tree roots to trip on. Like it's a safety hazard, right? But they have that stage built up front. So if they're going to shut it down because it's dark, they might as well use it for something. So I think it's a great example of Disneyland, again, making the best use of their space.
I will add that that is kind of a double-edged sword, though, because that space is used for Phantasmic performances. A lot of the buildings on that front edge of Tom Sawyer Island are not accessible to the public. They're not open. You can't go in them and do anything.
Right. Yeah, they just use like the outer facade to have some signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's props and stuff stored
Hmm.
in there. And
Yeah.
I've heard that's where the dragon lives in those
Yes.
buildings. So,
Yeah, I think underneath is
yeah.
where Murphy
So I
lives.
guess
They
I
call it
guess
Murphy.
I guess frankly you wouldn't want to go in there because there's a dragon living in there.
Yeah,
And everybody knows never tickle a sleeping dragon.
true, true. So what's your
So
favorite thing?
yeah, as much as I miss the original Tom Sawyer theming, they actually did a really good job at incorporating the Pirates of the Caribbean things. There's movie props, there's narration, there's, all sorts of fun pirates things. Now, I think it's weird still, but they did a really good job of incorporating all of it. All right, CJ, favorite thing about the island at Magic Kingdom?
It is massive, and there's more to see than at Disneyland. And I love that the fort is still open. The Disneyland fort has been closed for way too long. I think that's where like the dressing room is for the performers at Fantasmic. I really don't know, but I love that there's just more to see than at Disneyland.
Again, caveat, I haven't actually been to Tom Sawyer's Island at Magic Kingdom, but watching a walkthrough, not a ride through, and looking at the map, that's two islands. You got Tom
Hmm.
Sawyer Island and Huck Finn Island, I guess. It's not actually named that, but it's two islands. That's really cool. Tom Sawyer Island opened on June 16th, 1956 at Disneyland. Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island opened in May of 2007. It coincided with the release date of the movie Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Ah, that makes sense. So
Yep.
at Magic Kingdom, it opened May 20th, 1973.
At Disneyland, they justified the Pirates re-theme by using a chapter from The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, by Mark Twain, of course, where the characters go play pirates on a nearby island. And I guess they just happened to be playing Pirates of the Caribbean starring Captain Jack Sparrow and Will Turner, and I don't know. Uh, it's a stretch. It's a stretch, to be honest. But
Yes.
they found a justification in the original text. Anyways, the island was designed by Walt Disney. And my last fun fact is not really about Tom Sawyer's Island. But Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. The world premiere of this was at Disneyland, and tickets were $1,500 each, and the proceeds went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
I feel like that's not that expensive.
Yeah, especially when it's all going to a really good cause.
Although that was 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
adjusted for inflation, it's probably like $5,000. I don't know. Maybe not that much.
It's a lot more expensive now, that's for sure.
Yeah. So your fun fact about the island being designed by Walt Disney, that is why when they changed the island for the construction of Galaxy's Edge, that's why that move was so controversial. A lot of things, yes, Walt Disney helped design, but Tom Sawyer Island, from what I've understood and read about, he did not have any extra input from anybody else. Like that was 100% his design because, when he was a little kid growing up kind of in the backwoods, like that was what he played. Like that was his imagination. That's how he played. He played Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. And so he took that from his childhood and the way that he played and applied that to Disneyland. And that was like his playground from his kid days. And to have nobody put their hands in it and then all of a sudden, however many years after his death, say, well, we're going to cut out that part of the island. It was like, oh, like, why are you doing that? So it hurt a lot of people who are kind of like purists like myself. I'll admit that I'm a history girl. I'm a purist. That kind of hurt. It was like one of the last vestiges of Walt's hand really being seen in the park, and you're just going to bulldoze it. Like, oh.
Just part of it. Most of it is still there.
So Magic Kingdom, I don't really have any fun facts, but I don't think that this is offered anymore since the parks reopened. I have not heard anything about it. But cast members used to hide this paintbrush on the island, and if you found it and gave it to a cast member, you would get a fast pass. Now, considering they don't even do fast pass anymore, it's called Lightning Lane. I don't think this is a thing anymore. Unfortunately.
And I did hear rumors of that being a thing at Disneyland, but I never
heard of it being a thing at Disneyland.
I don't know, unconfirmed rumors. Yep. In any case, with the advent and the age of Genie Plus,
I don't think it's a thing.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. All right, location.
It's in the rivers of America, between Frontierland, Critters Country, and Galaxy's Edge, surrounded by water.
Yeah, Magic Kingdom, it's in the rivers of America between Frontierland and Liberty Square.
All right, there is a lot to see on both of these islands.
Let's rapid fire this.
All right, Disneyland. You have The Landing. You have Lafitte's Tavern, Pirate Point, which used to be Harper's Mill. You have W. Turner Blacksmith. You have Dead Man's Grotto, which used to be Injun Joe's Cave. You have Smuggler's Cove, Castle Rock, Pirate's Den Shipwreck, The Captain's Treasure. And then the last two, Tom and Huck's Treehouse is no longer accessible to guests as of July 2017.
Wow.
And Fort Wilderness is not accessible to guests anymore. The original was demolished in 2007 due to termite and weather damage.
That's right. They did rebuild it. Yep. I remember that. So, Magic Kingdom, this is based on the map, which can be found on the island. There's a lot more. So, Alli had 10 things.
2 of which aren't even open to the public anymore. And then also the Lafitte's Tavern, you can't go in the building. It's just there.
Okay, we have Tom's Landing, Privy's, Old Scratch's Mystery Mine, Hangman Steps, Harper's Mill, Hickory Switch Hill, Gallows Getaway, Catfish Cove, Aunt Polly's Dockside Inn, which is a former restaurant that rarely operates. And this is where you'll see that fence that's referenced in the book that Tom's supposed to paint, if you're familiar with the books. Smuggler's Cove, Barrel Bridge, Poor Old Jim Shack, Hooky Holler, Fort Langhorne, Powder Room, Secret Escape from the Fort, Cutthroat Corner, Indian Territory, River Pirate Ridge, Rifles Roost, Pappy's Fishing Pier, Wilderness Trail, Superstition Bridge, Jimsonweed Junction, Injun Joe's Cave, Huck's Landing, Potter's Mill, Potter's Pond, Ambush Cave, Fidgety Ledge, and Roundabout Rock. That is 31 separate locations to 10 at Disneyland.
I like the names of all those.
Yes. And it's been a long time since I've read Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn, but I would imagine that these are all mostly referenced in the books.
Yeah. Recognizing the names,
yes.
Like Aunt Polly.
Poor Old Jim Shack. Yeah, I remember some of them.
Moving on to the story, as I mentioned earlier, Tom, Huck, and Joe Harper are playing pirates And it just so happens to be that they're playing pirates themed to the multi-million-dollar Disney franchise.
Okay, I have another fun fact slash rumor slash legend slash unconfirmed secret. So there's like you may not remember this at Disneyland. There's like a little tunnel in the walkway kind of in front of Pirate slash Haunted Mansion that says like 1786 over it. So that is supposedly like a route that pirates take from the mainland to get to the island to smuggle their treasure as like a connection to the island.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
That lends credence to the Pirates Island theory. And that has been around for a long time on like in Disneyland. So
yeah,
throwing it out there. Okay, the Magic Kingdom story of Tom Sawyer Island, like the theme, obviously it's very much inspired by the books written by Mark Twain. Pretty straightforward.
As far as music slash soundtrack slash narration, there's a lot of pirate sounds and narration. You know, you get like Davy Jones talking to you in one area. You get Pintle and Ragetti when you're in the cave. Yeah, just pirate noises and narration, I guess.
Mm-hmm. There's not really any music. You just get ambient noise from the park at Magic Kingdom.
Again, both of these have no height requirements, and both are closed during fireworks, no matter what coast you're on.
Yep, they're both closed during rain, and neither of them offer lightning lane.
They don't need it.
Nope.
Okay, so we have the facts laid out. You know what time it is. It's time for the island showdown. Can we see eye to eye? Does one island rise above the other? CJ, do you want to go first, or do you want to pass it off to me?
You can go first this time.
Caveats again, I have not been to Tom Sawyer Island, and it has been probably since high school since I've been to Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island. Just looking at what we've talked about, it has to go to Magic Kingdom just based on size and coherent theming. There's not this weirdness where it's, you know, Tom Sawyer, but also Pirates of the Caribbean. There's none of that. I mean, those aren't even the right era. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean is like colonial era, and Tom Sawyer is late 1800s. Like, that makes no sense.
They're time travelers. Yeah, I'm also going to agree with you. Magic Kingdom takes the cake. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot more fun. Like, if I took my son there, we'd probably spend at least an hour on Magic Kingdom's Tom Sawyer Island, whereas Disneyland would be done so fast. And like, it's unfortunate. It just really is for Disneyland. However, I do like some of the technological upgrades they've done inside the caves at Disneyland. I think that's really cool. And one of those pirates in there, like, really freaks me out. He's really creepy. And there's similar things going on in the fort at Magic Kingdom's Tom Sawyer Island. The fort has some creepy people in there, and you need to go see them. And I also like the graveyard at Disneyland's Tom Sawyer Island, and I haven't like explored enough of Tom Sawyer Island at Magic Kingdom to know whether or not there's a graveyard there. So I need to go back, and that tells you how big the island is at Tom Sawyer Island. Or at Magic Kingdom. I don't know if there's a graveyard at the Magic Kingdom version, so I need to go back.
Well, it wasn't listed on either of ours, the graveyard at Disneyland or the graveyard at Magic Kingdom. So...
Yeah, the one at Disneyland is like in the back near the fort. It's one of like 3 graveyards in the park.
Second one being Haunted Mansion. Where's the third?
It's on Storybook Land, Canal Boats.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a graveyard there, but
I'm pretty
I
sure
should have expected.
I'm pretty sure there's a miniature graveyard in there. That's like a piece of trivia that pops up every now and then. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check.
You know what? 4 graveyards. You know why? You know where the last one is?
Oh gosh. Are you like gonna get me on some weird
No, I'm transitioning into our next segment, the Frontierland Shootin Exposition.
Yeah. Well, then now I need to double check about the Storybook Land Canal Boats. I could have sworn there's one on there in front of Mr. Toad's Toad Hall, or in the back of it. Like, there's a little church by his little scene. Oh, shoot.
Do the research and come back to us at the beginning of the next episode. I will make a note right now.
Ah! Okay. All right. Well, Frontierland Shootin Exposition, or as it's known at Magic Kingdom, the Frontierland Shootin Arcade.
Pew. Sorry, I was typing the note so that we remember to talk about that at the beginning of our next episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Frontierland Shootin Exposition and the
Frontierland Shootin Arcade. Yes.
Not shooting.
Shootin. With an apostrophe.
Yeah.
Yeehaw!
So, yeehaw! Sorry. I've only lived in Texas 4 years, and it comes out every now and then.
Gotta get the yeehaws out.
CJ, you're the yee to my haw.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment.
All right, well, let's move on from that awkward situation. So, CJ, what is your favorite thing about the Frontierland Shootin Exposition at Disneyland?
The puns. And it's also a uniquely Frontierland thing. Like, where else would you go shoot a Western scene? Nowhere except Frontierland.
I'm glad that you specified a Western scene, because I was about to pull facts on you.
Like, you were not going to go, okay, okay, never mind. You go shoot a Western scene only in Frontierland. I was realizing that there's a shooting ride in Tomorrowland and also in Galaxy's Edge. I had to backtrack myself.
I didn't even think about those two. I was thinking about the historical fact that those were not, the Frontierland one was not the only shooting gallery at Disneyland during its history.
Hold your fun facts. Save them.
Yeah, we'll go into that later. My favorite thing about the Frontierland Shootin Exposition is trying to hit the targets to trigger the different effects that go off when you hit the certain targets. So seeing what happens when I shoot this one and what happens when I shoot that one. And what about the Frontierland Shootin Arcade?
The puns, and that it's a uniquely Frontierland thing. Where else are you going to shoot a Western scene?
Yeah, and that's, my favorite thing about the Shootin Arcade at Magic Kingdom is when you shoot the targets and different effects go off, and it's really fun to see what happens when I shoot this target and what happens when I shoot that target.
Why are we repeating ourselves?
Because these attractions are almost exactly the same. The scenery is identical.
Yes, but they have some minor differences. Let's talk about when they opened.
The Frontierland Shootin Exposition at Disneyland opened July 12th, 1957, and it was called the Shooting Gallery. Just Shooting Gallery.
Shooting, not shootin'.
Yes. It was revamped to the Frontierland Shootin Exposition on March 29th, 1985.
So at Magic Kingdom, this is an opening day attraction, October 1st, 1971. It was called the Frontier Shooting Gallery, and it was renamed the Frontierland Shootin Arcade, September 24th, 1984. So in the 80s, they both got a name change.
Yeah.
And within 6 months of each other.
Yeah. But that name change coincides with the revamping of the attraction when, they used to use actual projectiles. But in the 80s, it was updated to be infrared guns instead of ones that shot actual projectiles. This also coincided with a vast decrease in the number of cast member injuries obtained on this attraction. So at Disneyland, there are 20 replica 54 caliber Hawkins Buffalo rifles. Targets are moving and stationary, and some, when hit, will have a supernatural twist, such as owls hooting, bank robbers emerging, vultures flapping their wings, mine cars appearing, tombstones shaking, and much, much more. 1 credit will get you 25 shots. I saw different prices on different websites because, yes, you have to pay to experience this attraction, but the video that I watched, it wasn't really a ride through or walk through, but it was a video of somebody going up, putting their coins in and pewing. It was 50 cents for 25 shots.
So yeah, Magic Kingdom, same thing, replica 55 or 54 caliber Hawkins Buffalo rifle. Again, projectile free infrared technology. There's moving and stationary targets. Right now, this attraction is free. You don't have to pay. Supposedly it's $1 for 35 shots usually. Again, they originally used lead pellets, but they switched because it's high maintenance costs with the paint chipping away every time something was shot.
Yeah, I read that the targets had to be repainted every single night.
Yeah, that can be very, very costly.
And I teased this earlier, but this was not the only shooting arcade at Disneyland. There was the Main Street Shooting Gallery that was located where the Gibson Girl is now. And that was open from July 1955 to January 1962. Didn't really fit in with the theming of Main Street. So
yeah, I picture down. Like small town America, and I don't picture shooting gallery. I just don't.
There was also the Safari Shooting Gallery in Adventureland, where the gift shop area is now. And the name changed for this several times, but it was open from June 1962 to January 1982. So at Disneyland, the Frontierland Shootin' Exposition is, surprise, surprise, in Frontierland. It is immediately to your right near the entrance from the hub.
Yeah, and in Magic Kingdom, it's on the left side. Frontierland is not directly off the hub. It's past Liberty Square. So it's near the Diamond Horseshoe, next to, like, kind of behind a DVC sales booth, and next to the Frontier Trading Post gift shop across from the Rivers of America.
And I believe it's also near some restrooms.
Yes,
There's like,
close.
yeah.
It's close
There's
to
the walkway that takes you from Frontierland to Adventureland.
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to mention, I was looking up, like, if there were other shooting galleries in Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World, and most websites all the websites I looked at said this is the only one. So I guess this is the only one.
Okay.
It's possible, though, there are arcades at the resorts, like, that have, traditional arcade games. So it's possible that some of those arcades have some sort of shooting game that you'd find at, like, Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. But as far as Disney Park shooting galleries, this is the only one.
At Disneyland, there are nearly 100 targets. The Wikipedia for this says there are 97, and it's themed to be an old-time Wild West shootout.
Yeah, Magic Kingdom, I've also read there's 97 targets, and the Disney website calls this an Old West themed shooting gallery. So it's very interesting that they're, like, basically exactly the same, but the verbiage is, like, different. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I notice on our story section of our outline is very similar as well. Mm-hmm. It takes place in a rustic log cabin at the legendary Boot Hill in Tombstone, Arizona, a notorious Old West town.
Magic Kingdom, rustic log cabin, legendary Boot Hill in the famous frontier town of Tombstone, Arizona. See, it seems like Disneyland is trying to make it sound bad, like old-time West shootout in notorious Old West town. But Magic Kingdom is like shooting gallery in the famous frontier town. Like, it doesn't have, like, a bad, like, sinister,
the notorious.
Evil. Yeah.
And I also, I skipped this part in the outline. I just kind of, like, glanced right over it. There's no queue for this. No. If there's a queue, then I feel sorry for you, because it's a really busy day at Disneyland.
Yeah, go do something else.
Yeah.
For both of these, there isn't really any music, but you will get some sound effects from shooting and interacting with the targets. And there is also no height requirement for either one of these, but little kids will have a hard time reaching the guns. So if you're an adult or a parent, you're going to want to hold your kids up, and it's kind of awkward. So prepare yourself.
Yeah, these attractions are open during the fireworks, but you don't really get a view of the fireworks because you are shooting a gun at some targets. Open during rain, they're both covered, and there's no lightning lane. That would be absurd. So, that said, everything laid out, it's time for the final showdown of these two attractions that are almost identical. We have the facts laid out. Will we see eye to eye? CJ, what do you think?
I'm going to give it to Disneyland because I feel like at Disneyland, Frontierland is a dying land. They got rid of, the barbecue restaurant that was in the back. They got rid of the petting zoo, which was in the back. And Frontierland is really just like the Mark Twain, the Columbia, Big Thunder, and the Shootin' Gallery. That's pretty much it. And so I feel like this is an important part of Frontierland. It adds some authenticity and some layering to Frontierland. I also like the location. It's kind of like that entry to Frontierland kind of looks like a fort a little bit. And so I think having a shooting gallery right there is pretty cool.
I am also giving it to Disneyland. You'd make very valid points. And I hadn't thought about the theming being really, really accurate, where it's, feels like a fort and it's target practice at the fort. The other reason I would give it to Disneyland is, provided the prices we found are accurate, you get more bang for your buck at Disneyland. 50 cents for 25 shots versus $1 for 35 shots. Your money goes farther at Disneyland.
Also, something that I think is really funny, have you looked at the roof of the shooting exposition at Disneyland?
Yeah, there's bullet holes in it.
No, the roof.
Oh, the roof. I'm sorry, the sign has bullet holes in it. Tell me about the roof.
There are fireworks on top of the roof, like unlit fireworks.
Why?
I don't know, but you make a good point. There's a target like on the sign. By the way, I think this is interesting. It's called Frontierland Shootin Exposition, but the sign says Shooting Exposition, and there's a target on top with like bullet holes they've missed, and there's like unlit fireworks on top of the roof. So to me, it's kind of a joke. Like, are they trying to, whoever's shooting at it, are they trying to hit the fireworks on top to like make them go off, or are they trying to hit the target?
Either way, thematically appropriate to have fireworks on the 4th of July episode.
I just think it's funny. I like that's just one of those like classic Disneyland gags that like makes me laugh. And whoever's shooting at them, like, is the owner of the shooting exposition, are they in a fight with the building across the way? Like, are they shooting at each other? I don't know.
Well, we'll have to look at the building across the way and see if there are bullet holes in that one.
Yeah, whereas the Frontierland Shootin' Arcade, I don't know, the outside the building's kind of boring in comparison. I guess we probably should have talked about that. It's just not that interesting.
All right, well, I think that about wraps us up for this episode. So thank you all for joining us as we discussed a new frontier, the Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island / Pirate Lair on Tom Sawyer Island, and the Frontierland Shootin' experiences. Yeah, let us know what you think of this episode. Let us know if you know what other Disneyland attraction has been in 3 lands without ever having moved location. You can find us on Instagram and allegedly on Twitter at Park2Park Pod with the number 2.
I think I have our answer.
Okay, what do you think it is?
The shooting gallery. There has been a shooting gallery in 3 lands: Main Street, Adventureland, and Frontierland.
I don't think that's the answer that we're looking for, though. There has been a shooting gallery in 3 different lands, but it's not
the same
one attraction. Yeah. Good try, though. You got my heart going pitter-patter with excitement. Yeah, anyways, you can also email us with questions, feedback, future episodes, ideas, answers to our questions, and more at park2parkpod@gmail.com, again with the number 2. Like, subscribe, leave a review. The more stars, the better, wherever you listen to podcasts. CJ, what are we talking about next time?
Well, our next episode is classic attractions in Adventureland, and obviously we're going to be talking about the Jungle Cruise, and we were going to talk about Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse versus Tarzan's Treehouse. However, since we outlined the season, it has been revealed that Tarzan's Treehouse is going to be changing. So we'll talk about Tarzan's Treehouse as it was and maybe speculate on possibly what's coming if there's any news revealed about that. So yeah, stay tuned.
There has, as of time of recording this episode, we don't have news on that, but there are certainly plenty of rumors out there.
Indeed. It's a jungle out there. It's a jungle of rumors out there. Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, I think we need to put our bad puns to rest. Thanks, everybody. Happy 4th of July, or happy whatever day you're listening to this. And if you're not American, just have a wonderful day anyways, wherever you are. Hopefully it's at a Disney park.
Yes, have fun, everybody. Bye.
Bye, y'all.